Today on Comedy on Tap, everyone's favorite former Vice President Joe Biden stops by to teach us how to throw the perfect curveball. The Pope stops by and to tell us why he converted to Buddhism. And former head of Fox News, sexual harasser, and a recent dead person Roger Ailes stops by to let us know what hell is like. None of that, but much more. Today on Comedy on Tap. Hello and welcome back to Comedy on Tap. My name is Adam Casey Elder. I hope you all are doing fantastically today. With me is my co-host Uriah Wesman. Uriah, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. And with me also is Mr. Stephen Armspoker.
Hello.
How you doing, Stephen?
Good. I'm just here to chip in.
Okay.
Just like be that guy. Just like, hey, here's the thing. Okay.
That's exactly what we need. So, as you guys probably heard, Senator John McCain recently passed away. I voted against him in 2008, but I had disagreed with him in a lot of politically. But I had a lot of respect for the guy. He was a patriot who served his country well. He's a war hero, and I was a big fan of the McCain Feingold bill, and he recently voted against overturning Obamacare, which I respected him for a lot. Now, what makes it however, one person who was not a fan of him was Donald Trump. Now, does this mean Donald Trump is going to have to say something nice about John McCain now that he recently passed away?
He'll probably say something passive aggressive, and yeah, It's gonna be interesting.
I think it's gonna be very interesting. It's probably gonna just kind of do his typical Donald Trump thing and just kind of rewrite history and be like, yes, John McCain. Well, he really liked me. He was a big fan of me. He had a lot of respect for me, and I appreciate that about him.
I'm worried what's going to happen now with the McCain's chicken.
His chicken.
Are they related? McCain's chicken, the frozen chicken you can get at the store. McCain's
chicken. I don't know.
Is that a Canadian thing?
It might be a Canadian thing.
I don't know.
Okay.
About any McCain's chicken.
For those of you who are new to our podcast, Uriah is from Canada, so some of his references go over our heads. All right. Speaking of going over your head, so I'm going to bring up our first and only guest today. You have seen him on Hulu, on Fox. He tours all over the country, and he is the co-founder and producer of Comedy Hideaway, Mr. Andrey Belikov. Andrey, how you doing, sir?
How you doing?
I'm doing very well. So tell us, how did you get started in comedy?
Well, it was actually it came out of procrastination, to be honest. My first set ever, it was in high school. They had those, those theater, like, senior projects. So everyone at the end of the year paired up and tried to get into, they all got groups. They all did, I think a bunch of girls did, like, the vagina monologues and this kind of thing. And I waited till the last day, and they're like, shoot, I need to do something for this class. And everyone I talked to already had a partner. So I just had Comedy Central in the background, and there was just some guy on a microphone. And I'm like, well, I could do that. So I wrote down some material, and I did like this Russian character who told the audience, maybe 150 people, that I had procrastinated and he was filling in for me.
Okay, yeah.
And it just killed, right? This whole thing just killed, and everyone's like, you should do this for a living, you should do... And I didn't touch it for about 4 years after that, and it was just kind of stuck in the back of my mind, like, actually, this is something I really want to do. So that was my first time, and I guess kind of how I got into it.
You got into it, and it was 4 years later. That's when you started doing stand-up.
Yeah, I started at a place called Velvet Jones here in Santa Barbara, which is a great place. The staff there is awesome, but man, is it the toughest place you will ever perform at, because you got like this punk rock crowd in there who are just, I mean, they're used to mosh pits, and then you got a comic, so it's like a sport for them to heckle you.
Yeah, it is.
So I got tough skin right away doing those gigs there.
Steve and I used to do gigs at Whiskey Richards, and we had a lot of that. We were competing against people who thought that because it was technically it was an open mic, but it was it was more of a music open mic.
Yeah.
So we were there competing against people who were there just for music.
Yeah, it was just like grungy, dark kind of feeling.
But, yeah.
Yeah, not.
But when you could win the crowd over, and I won them over a few times, it was some of the best sets I ever had in my life.
Well, you have to kind of bludgeon them. It's kind of it's what I tell people when you get a heckler. It could be a tough room and you could be just bombing, and if you take down that heckler, you gain their respect, and suddenly you're at a whole other level. So with tough crowds like that, it separates you from just some guy that just made up some jokes.
Yeah.
Also, musicians, especially at open mics that have seasoned musicians, I mean, they've got, 5-10 years, some of them more, playing whatever instrument they're playing, or with vocal classes, or whatever it is. As an open mic comic, we're month 1, or month 2, or first year. It's like someone trying to play the guitar after a few months.
Yeah, like with comedy, it's something that you really have to do with an audience, with music, all you need is a teacher.
Right.
Who can...
And you also, if you're doing a cover of some song, you can kind of match the notes and the tempos, and...
You can't do a cover of someone's joke, because that's called stealing.
No, you can't do a cover of Chris Rock's best material.
No. Also, because I'll get my ass kicked for saying the N-word.
That's funny.
So tell us about founding Comedy Hideaway.
Well, when I first started, I realized, actually it was, you guys familiar with a guy called Jay Davis?
Jay Davis? I don't think so.
He toured with Dane Cook on the Tourgasm thing way back when, and he ran this show in LA, must have been like 15 years ago, called Dargans. I think it was called Dargans, and it was like the hot spot where all the top comics would go. And it was early in his career, and he rose pretty quickly as a producer. And I remember when I first got into comedy, it was when Dane Cook was kind of just blowing up, and he was really huge on MySpace. And I came and saw him at the Laugh Factory, and Jay Davis was there, so I added Jay Davis on MySpace. Jay Davis then promoted this podcast he was doing, ironically. And his guest was Alonzo Bowden, who had just won Last Comic Standing.
Oh yeah, I love Alonzo.
And he just wanted a few people in the audience. So I responded, and some of my friends and I went to LA, and we were kind of it was a small audience of like 20 people for this podcast. And we were there, and afterwards I asked them for some advice. And I was expecting like the 1-2 sentence answer.
Yeah, just keep doing it. Just get up there and try.
But he didn't do that. He sat me down. He asked me questions about where I was located and kind of how new I was. And he said, from where I am, I have 2 choices. I either have to move to LA or produce my own shows, create my own stage time. And so that's what I did. I started Laughology. I started a couple of other comedy shows around town. They kind of floated. I got involved with the Velvet Jones show more. But I ran into the same problem with all these different shows. They were all branded with the venue. So it was like Velvet Jones Comedy Night, Stateside Comedy Night, Bricks Cafe Comedy Night. And with the turnover of restaurants in this area, once the restaurant goes under, which most of them do,
then the comedy goes under.
Well, people forget about the show.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, how do I keep my audience? I realized my audience needs to connect with that show and the brand outside of the location. The location doesn't matter. They buy tickets online and they think of a brand. So I drafted a whole bunch of things like Laugh Hideout, Comedy Getaway, like all these, like 100 different words, and Comedy Hideaway just seemed like the perfect phrase to explain what we are, which is it's this hard to find show that's usually in the most weirdest of spots. Like the very first hideaway, or at least the first proper hideaway, was at Petrini's. It's literally in the back of a pizza parlor.
Oh, wow.
At a strip mall. Actually kind of right by here. And we ran shows there for 3 years, and we packed them out, and we actually taped for Fox out of that room.
Oh, awesome.
But you can't tell. I mean, there's footage on national television from the inside of the back of a strip mall pizza parlor.
Probably not the first time on Fox.
But I mean, but we would metamorph these rooms. So no matter where we were, what location, and that pizza parlor went under, and a lot of other places went under. We would take this room and metamorph it with candles, with black tablecloths, with kind of the same backdrop, PA system, a nice Bose L1 that really makes it sound awesome. And I talked to Todd Glass, who's a comic that's well known for being very OCD about room mechanics.
Mm-hmm. I experienced that firsthand.
And when we're talking to each other, we geek off about, we go down the rabbit hole with this stuff about what makes a good room. As a performer, we should be able to do whatever room we have.
Yeah.
But as a producer,
you want to make the best possible room possible.
Right. There is a science to it. There's a way to make a room so good that a weaker comic will just kill, and a stronger comic will reach some other level.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a room that misses all these things and maybe has like the Laker game on, or there's like a loud bar, or it's sat really sparsely, or they're too far back, or the PA system sucks, or you could have a great comic that the crowd is just not paying attention to, and it's such a waste of what it could be for anyone that's putting a show that's doing that.
Yeah. What are some of the rules you think for putting on the best show?
Well, I think the biggest one is it's something I call conservation of laughter. So the distance that a laugh has to travel before it hits a hard surface affects how much of that laugh volume comes back into the crowd. And that creates two things. One, it sounds like the show is doing better because the laughter around you is louder. More of the sound is coming back into you. And second, there's the psychological effect of, it's actually okay to enjoy the show because people around me are enjoying the show. So many people make subconscious decisions for social reasons. Like, I'm having a good time here because other people are. Very few people are willing to go against the grain. And if, like, let's say they're at a concert and no one likes the music, it takes an extraordinary person to go, I actually like this. Even the people that do like it might kind of reel it back a little bit and be like, well, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So the laughter coming back is huge, and most rooms for events or for podcast recordings or whatever it is are designed in the opposite way. They're designed to not, kind of rebound the volume back into the room, because if you have a small room like this with low ceilings and tight walls and hard surfaces everywhere, it'll create kind of this echo loop that's ever so slightly displaced with the timing of someone speaking, and it creates almost like a nausea. There's a phrase for it, I forget what it's called, but it's the reason why they make sound dampening tiles. And if you've ever walked into like a hotel ballroom that's maybe too tight with hard surfaces, you kind of have this weird echoey sound in there. So most people are trying to get rid of that. Comedy clubs mistakenly, when they're trying to soundproof against the outside, will actually insulate inside, but then they're getting rid of that bounce back into the room. And for music, okay, that's probably important because you don't want the music to be bouncing around inside the room.
Yeah, definitely not.
But for the audience, that's exactly what you want. So I feel like there's all these places that are neutering the room. They're taking their laughter, which could be at a certain level, and they're shaving it down. And so when I look for a room, I look for those elements, for the hard surfaces and for the tight walls and for small spaces. And this is another reason why comedy thrives in places like San Francisco or New York City, because the real estate is super expensive, and the places where small comedy rooms can be are like basements and cellars and attics that are these small spaces.
Or Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden.
But I bet that same comic is going to kill more at the Comedy Cellar. And another thing that happens when you have laughter at that level is your thresholds become easier. So, you got momentum in comedy. If a comic's doing well, he's warming up the room, or she's warming up the room. The next comic can take that energy and build on it. You got this momentum. Or if someone starts doing badly or bombing, you start losing that momentum. Well, the threshold for what will kind of build the crowd becomes a lot easier for the comic if the laughs are bigger. So a weaker joke will warm the crowd. A weaker comic will warm the crowd. And when you combine several comics in an easy room, you get this phenomenal show. And, it's almost like Comedy Hideaway is a bit of a science experiment in that way.
A science experiment. Okay, that makes sense.
So, and then we did that taping for SiriusXM in the room, and I showed you guys the clip from it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that have taped in other locations that have heard that clip, and they're like, Andre, give me about half a year. I'm going to finishing up my next hour. I want to do it there.
Oh, nice.
That's what I've been hearing from a lot of people. So I guess it's working.
Yeah, I heard the clip. It sounded really crisp, really clear. You could hear the comedian, hear the audience, but you didn't hear the Mexican music. That
yeah, that one. I mean, you could always filter that stuff out with post editing, but I think it's the threshold of what the audience mics were picking up. They picked up the audience very well because they were loud and they're right on them. But the dB of the Mexican music was just low enough to where the mics kind of skipped it as like an anti-noise feature,
mm-hmm.
which in our context, it was what that was.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a really great show, and I've been lucky to be a part of it a few times now. And yeah, it's really awesome. People should come and check it out if they haven't already.
But this is like a nationwide podcast, right? Technically,
this is a worldwide podcast.
Worldwide. Well,
yeah.
If you're in Santa Barbara, and once this podcast becomes famous, and people
mm-hmm.
are like looking at the first few.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be the second they come to Santa Barbara, you'll be the first stop. Well, probably not, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so.
The second, the third, after they'll go to the hotel room first. They'll go to a couple bars and restaurants, maybe check out the Ronald Reagan Museum. Then they'll go to Comedy Hunt.
No, it's like the wine tasting hungover decision. What do we do now?
Pretty much. Okay, and with that, how do you feel about playing a few games?
It depends.
We unfortunately
is this like an eyes wide shut situation? Are there candles? Because then maybe not so much.
Yeah. So no masks. We're gonna have to get rid of all the masks.
No masks.
Oh.
Usually we go over this with the person before the show began, but unfortunately, as this is a new podcast, we completely forgot to do that. So we're just going to have to do it live to tape on the air. So our first game is to pitch a bad movie. Today we're going to pitch a bad Roland Emmerich movie. I know it's kind of oxymoron, but you know what Roland Emmerich is, right? He does big disaster movies.
Is it kind of those cheesy ones?
Cheesy ones. He did Independence Day. He did the one about the environment. What was that called? Somebody help me out here.
2012.
He did 2012. He did 2012. 10,000 BC.
The day after tomorrow.
The day after tomorrow, which is about the environment. 10,000 BC, which was a ridiculous thing about cavemen and how elephants built the pyramids.
And then Anonymous, about how Shakespeare didn't really write Shakespeare. He really likes conspiracy theories.
He is a big fan of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Most of his films have some kind of a conspiracy theory in them. And of course, his biggest, were the Independence Day movies. He's very famous for those.
Yes.
So, what is the big disaster that's going to befall him in this movie? What do you guys think?
You know what? I think it should start with the fact that we faked the moon landing.
The faking the moon landing.
Yeah,
I like that.
Because like he's into conspiracy,
mm-hmm.
and then so we fake the moon landing because the moon is going to smash into us and kill us all.
Right.
And then there has to be the one man who saw it coming. And he's
Bruce Willis, who along with his team of oil drillers have to go to the moon and blow it up.
Yeah, like but I think
yes, that's never been done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He needs a and this time I think his hero is going to be I think should be a woman, and just because like he's into like the whole like progressive thing. Like he had a black president. And like you noticed in Independence Day Resurgent, he had a woman president.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, he sort of likes to put that in his movies. So like, it would be all progressive and.
Ooh, maybe Peter Dinklage could be the president. Could be the first.
Yes, the first. Yeah, Peter Dinklage as the president. I like that.
And Hillary Clinton as the vice president.
Or Hillary Clinton. What he'll do? It won't be Hillary Clinton, but he'll hire an actress who looks just like Hillary Clinton, like he did with Day After Tomorrow. The vice president was deliberately cast to look like Dick Cheney, who was the vice president at the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So.
Uriah, what are your thoughts on this? What would you like to add?
As this is happening, he also decides to try to fix the Flint water crisis. So it's just a documentary about the government trying to figure out what they did. And it getting nowhere. Then Michael Moore makes a cameo. He's just like, we need to do something. What do we need to do, Michael? We need to put our bodies on the line. What does that mean? We need to watch my movie.
We need to transform this water.
Okay.
Michael Bay's a producer then. We need Transform. Bumblebee comes up.
It's funny because Michael Bay is not known for disaster movies, but he's kind of known for disaster movies.
Yeah, pretty much. Transformers 2, I think, is one of the biggest disaster movies of all time.
I mean, what's a good movie he made? Are there
I like The Island.
Maybe Armageddon was okay.
You know what? I will defend Pain and Gain.
You're alone in that one.
That was Bad Boys.
You know what I do sometimes?
Bad Boys. Bad Boys was good. I was 7 when I saw it, so I can't say for certain, but I remember really liking that movie.
Do you guys ever speed watch movies?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what that is? You basically...
We put on fast forward?
Well, not exactly. So you have, for example, Netflix has when you fast forward, you see the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
And you cut through at maybe medium speed until you see a scene that maybe makes sense. And then you just watch like a part of that scene, and then you watch a movie that's maybe an hour and a half in about 10 minutes. I saw Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles that way, and I had a blast. I just did all the turtle scenes, skipped everything with what's her name?
April.
What's her name?
As played by
Megan Fox.
Oh yeah,
right,
I skipped all the Megan Fox. Anything without turtles, I skipped. And that movie with just back-to-back turtle footage is fantastic.
It's kind of like what a conspiracy theorist would do. They would only watch what they agree with and then skip everything else.
Yeah, but I wasn't like making a political decision.
I don't know why my brain went there.
Andrey was making the solid point that we need more turtles in America today.
Yeah, it was more of a turtle themed.
So it was like a turtles in a half-ass shell.
Yeah.
Oh, Uriah.
Someone's got to laugh at my joke.
Someone's got to laugh at your joke. There we go.
So is it safe to say this movie will never happen?
Oh, no, it's an intentionally bad movie that we're pitching here. But Hollywood makes a lot of bad movies, so why not make this one? That's our thoughts.
Okay.
It's all about making money, so
completely.
I think that it might make money.
There should be a movie about people pitching an intentionally bad movie that actually becomes a hit.
I think they did that. It was called Movie 23, and it was
43.
Movie 43. It was one of the worst films ever made.
And technically, the producers. That's kind of the plot of the producers. So they deliberately make a bad show.
Well, I mean, but this would be more a commentary of how bad of an idea Hollywood is willing to take. Because the producers is kind of I don't know. It's almost like a comedic exercise in a way.
Yeah.
It's sort of a story about how it's like they try so hard to make it bad that it's unintentionally hilarious. So, yeah.
I haven't heard anyone mention the producers in quite some time. I mean, they made that documentary about it, right? Maybe 10 years ago?
Yeah, and they made the remake. That was the Broadway version. They did that about 10 years ago, too. I think around the same time as the documentary.
But back then, it was brought up in conversation among comics semi-frequently, like often enough. This is the first time I heard about it in like 5+ years.
I think the movie version of the musical kind of
milked it all.
Yeah, melted it all.
And then plus, I mean, like it's getting a bit old.
Yeah,
there's
that happens. In 2004, I had this great joke about 9/11, and then a couple of New York comics like, what the hell are you doing? That's like old news. Everyone's past that. Like it was hacky to be still doing 9/11 jokes in 2004 or 2006 maybe. I did in 2006.
It's like almost the same thing with priests now, making a joke about priests.
Yeah, priests or.
So you're saying I should drop my 9/11 priest joke?
Do you have one?
Yeah, it's an 11-minute set just about 9/11 and priests.
Oh, well, I guess if you combine multiple hacky things, it's okay.
Okay.
It's like, what are the top impersonations that people do? Arnold Schwarzenegger, what's his name? Christopher Walken?
Christopher Walken, yeah.
And if there was a third one...
I'd have to say Trump.
Now it's Trump.
No, it used to be George Bush. It was up there.
And Johnny Carson too, back in the day.
Like everyone thought that Bush was stupid. They were making jokes, but I don't remember a lot of impressions of him.
Jon Stewart would do one.
I didn't really watch The Daily Show that much. So.
All right. Well, I think we have our movie. I think it's pretty solid. I will send it off to Hollywood right after this podcast, and we should get our checks for $2 million within a week. Sound good? Okay.
I'll take it.
Awesome. Our next and final game is Would You Rather. Now this is all. Now I'm going to give you two separate scenarios. You have to pick one of them. Neither of them is very pleasant. But the idea is you do not vote right away. Ask as many questions as you can think of about the scenario to best uncover which is the correct scenario. The person who asks the most questions will probably be the person who wins the game. All right, and for this episode of Would You Rather, would you rather be haunted by the ghost of Anna Nicole Smith, or have to have dinner with Ann Coulter every night for the rest of your life? I am opening the floor for questions.
Aren't those both just being haunted by a ghost?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
But only one of them is a right-wing alt-right troll.
The amount of material you would get.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, with Ann Coulter, does she like you?
Oh, she's crazy about you. You're like the highlight. You're the highlight of her day is having dinner with you, even though she disagrees with you about everything and thinks you're a liberal whack job, and does not respect any of your political views. She still has a certain fondness for you.
How much of your day is being haunted?
You can tune her out. You can put on some music or something, but it's a good solid at least 7 hours of your day. You're gonna be haunted by Anna Nicole Smith.
What type of haunting? Is this going to be like Poltergeist where they open up the cupboards and move chairs around? Or are we talking about blood on the walls?
Well, it's Anna Nicole Smith, so it's more like she's going to open up your cabinet and move your pills around and look for the best stuff. She's going to drink all your booze.
She's probably going to record me, put my sex tape online.
Exactly.
So it's like a Poltergeist kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a Poltergeist.
Is it the same 7 hours each day? Or do you choose, or is it random?
Oh, it's random. It's whenever she's even though she's a ghost, she still will get too drunk and pass out. So those are the times when you'll have some peace and quiet to yourself. But it's always at a random time, so you can never really tell when she's going to haunt you or not.
Well, I have to say, being haunted by ghosts sounds pretty terrifying. So I'd rather have dinner with a person.
Is there...
you get free food.
Now, are there any more questions about the Ann Coulter? Because there are several hidden scenarios in this that you have not uncovered yet.
Oh, is she also dead?
Yes, she is. She is also dead, and she is also haunting you.
Wait, Ann Coulter?
Ann Coulter is also dead and is haunting you. Yes.
And is it 7 hours?
It is 8 hours.
Well, then that changes everything, doesn't it?
And she's constantly promoting her books to you, her pro-Trump book, her anti-Hillary book, her anti-Obama book. She's constantly trying to get you to become alt-right like she is.
So she eats?
Yes, you have to have dinner with her. You don't have to have dinner with Anna Nicole Smith. In the Anna Nicole Smith scenario, you have the dinner time to yourself.
Okay. And so it's every day?
every day for the rest of your life.
Do people know that?
Yes, you are. In fact, you become famous because you expose that ghosts are real from this haunting, and you become a bit of a celebrity for being haunted by either both the Anna Nicole Smith and the occultist scenario. You become famous for this haunting.
So ghosts are accepted to exist in this world.
It takes a little amount of time. It's not overnight, but within about, let's say, 2 or 3 months of the story being broken, everyone just kind of moves on and just accepts the fact that ghosts are real.
All right. So if I have a date or want to have dinner with someone else, could I just have a salad and then go on and have my real dinner?
In the Ann Coulter scenario, no, but in the Anna Nicole Smith scenario, yes. Uriah, what's your question?
See, I don't want to be waking up with a burning cross in my front yard. It's bad for property values.
You won't be woken up with a burning cross in the middle of your yard. Ann Coulter will take your toothbrush and sort of turn that into a cross and set it on fire, but only very small crosses will she burn on and it's not on your lawn. It's usually in your sink. She doesn't want to start a fire,
Do I have the ability to or access to an exorcist?
Yes, you do.
Oh, well, that kind of changes.
In both scenarios, you do have exorcists. They are, unfortunately, they are both way out of your price range. They're just way too expensive. You can pick a more affordable exorcist, but they can only partially get rid of you.
Is there a payment plan for a said exorcist?
There is an installment plan, yes.
Okay, because this is lifelong haunting. I'm pretty sure I'd be willing to pay whatever.
Yeah, you can. The short lady from Poltergeist will come to your house, and we'll get rid of the ghost, but it takes a while. And unfortunately, it takes a while for them to exorcise the ghost, and while she exorcises him, it becomes a lot worse for those few weeks when she's exorcising the ghosts. And your life becomes pretty much unbearable for those weeks.
Do they know they're dead?
Anna Nicole Smith knows that she's dead, and Ann Coulter thinks that she's still alive. So in a lot of ways, she's not that different from how she actually is in reality right now.
So I imagine in addition to the poltergeist, it's is it a solid ghost? Like if I just walked into the room the first time I saw one of them, would I know oh, this is a ghost? Is it like a Casper ghost, translucent?
It depends on how much strength they have at the moment. They lose their strength in ghost power sometimes, but they have the ability to become corporeal and become solid. Right, and so sometimes it'll just look like did you see the first season of American Horror Story?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, where they'll look like regular people, and they'll almost seem like regular people. But sometimes they'll just be very translucent, more like the Ghostbuster ghosts, and in some sometimes they'll be completely invisible.
Plot twist: are we a ghost?
You're not a ghost, but you are a zombie in the Ann Coulter scenario.
Okay. Well,
all right. So if I'm on a trip, like if I go to Singapore or whatever, would Ann Coulter show up in Singapore and I'd have to have dinner with her?
Yes, she would. Wherever you go, in the Ann Coulter scenario, she follows you around, but only for dinner time, no matter where you go. But in the Anna Nicole Smith scenario, she will always be at your house.
If I change my diet to be more of a fireman schedule of calorie intake to where it's all in one sitting, say lunchtime, and I skip dinner entirely, do I then circumvent this whole haunting?
With Ann Coulter, yes, you do. You can never have dinner for the rest of your life, but you can circumvent it.
Do I pay for the dinner?
If you're a gentleman, yes.
What if I'm just eating Mexican food every day?
Then you'll have a ghost with terrible gas.
So she will eat.
She'll eat.
I think we're starting to look at this the wrong way. We're looking at it very negative. I think
we have a ghost now
that is racist.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we send this ghost?
This is fantastic. We got something no one else has.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's a good question. How can we utilize
Can it be
their
militarized?
their ghostly abilities?
Yes, you can absolutely militarize in both scenarios. You can militarize the
An
ghosts.
armed apparition.
An armed apparition, and you can send them off to fight ISIS or North Korea or whoever the enemy of the moment
I was
is.
thinking like just getting my parking tickets sort of back, but
You can get parking tickets back. Yeah.
Does Anna Nicole Smith, does she like you?
Anna Nicole Smith likes you a lot. Much like in life, she has serious drug and alcohol problems. So her mood swings a lot. But for the most part, she really likes you.
how does she feel about immunizations now that she's dead?
Immunizations now that she's dead, she loves them.
Oh,
Or she hates them. What's an immunization?
It's you take an injection and now you're sort of safer from a certain disease.
Oh yeah, she thinks that's all science and voodoo. She thinks it's all voodoo.
So she's still an anti-vaccinator.
Still an anti-vaxxer.
That's gonna be pretty cool when you get to go to like a doctor and then you're trying to have a good conversation about vaccines and then she's chiming in.
Welcome to my
It's
world.
almost like it'd be like getting married. I mean, both of them sound very great because you have a woman that's going to be hanging out with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how low are your standards in this moment that a ghost haunting you would be like
I'm
an
talking
improvement?
about a fictional world where I'm a zombie.
Only in one of those situations.
Only one.
Only one.
The other one. Am I racist in both of them?
In the one where you're not a zombie, you're racist. So
See?
in the Anna Nicole Smith scenario, you're racist.
I'm a zombie with Ann Coulter.
You're a zombie with Ann Coulter, yes.
Oh, that changes things.
It changes things? Uh-oh.
In
What
both-
type of zombie? Am I a slow zombie or a fast zombie? Can I still do stand-up?
You're a fast zombie, you are an intelligent zombie. There was that show, I can't remember, on Comedy Central, about the guy who's a social worker and his roommate is a zombie. It's like that. You're an intelligent zombie, you can think, you can learn, you can love, you have full speaking capabilities, but you are technically undead. And you do have to eat human brains.
Am I the only person that's undead?
There's a small community of like-minded zombies, but you don't really care for them, so you mostly stick to yourself.
I don't like that because I don't want to be a small community of people and start being more marginalized.
Well, you don't really care for them, so you mostly stick to yourself.
Yeah, and you've got an apparition that can sort of speak on your behalf.
Yes.
With political connections. So you can use it as like a vehicle for spreading freedom and equality for your zombie subgroup.
Accusing everyone else for having privilege.
Yeah. Real life human being privilege.
Stephen, you're raising your hand. You seem to have a question. What is it?
No, I just heard something.
No, Steven.
We have a ghost here.
Stephen, you have a question. What is it?
Is it a... Yeah, sorry, I lost my... So, with Anna Nicole Smith, like, how does she interfere with your like daily life?
Anna Nicole Smith. To a small extent, like she won't like if you have like a social event that you're going to, she won't prevent you from going there. She won't stop you from living your life, but she might tag along. And no, Anna Nicole Smith stays at your house. Ann Coulter might tag along, but she will always be at your house, and you can't move. No matter where you go to, she will follow you.
Like the NSA.
Like the NSA, exactly. And I am closing the floor for questions. It is time to vote. Stephen, what is your vote? And why? Remember, the why is very important.
My vote is for Anna Nicole Smith because I don't want to be a zombie, and I like dinner, and I think I can help just like I can deal with a bit of mayhem. Just like as long as I can compartmentalize this and pretty much live my life.
But remember, you're racist in this scenario.
I missed that.
In the Anna Nicole Smith scenario, you're racist.
Oh. Well.
No, you've already voted. Andrey.
Wait, so regardless of the terrifying haunting, it really boils down to, do I want to be a zombie or a racist?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, that's... I guess it's closed for questioning, right? I'm assuming that both of these states are permanent.
Both these. I'm going to allow an additional 2 questions.
Okay. Are both of these states... Actually, you already answered that. So I have 2 more questions.
You have 2 more questions.
Can I shoot myself?
Yes. In both scenarios, you can just shoot yourself.
Do I still have to pick? Like, I pick one of those and then I shoot myself?
But if you shoot yourself, and Coulter wins in the end.
Oh, and you might become a ghost.
Yes. You will become a ghost.
And then you're still being... Can ghosts... Final question. Can ghosts haunt other ghosts?
Yes, you can haunt other ghosts. When you become a ghost, you...
Then it's just a clingy ghost. At that point, they just hang around.
Pretty much.
I kind of find the idea of zombie rights and that whole journey interesting. So, I would be a zombie.
Be a zombie. Okay. So you're voting for to have dinner with Ann Coulter every night for the rest of your life. All right.
Well, no, unless I skip it.
Unless you skip
by
it.
doing my brunches.
Unless you skip it, or
my brain brunches.
If you pay the hundreds of thousands of dollars to have her exercised. All right, Uriah, what is your vote?
There's been a decline in industrial farming over the last decade or so.
There has been. That's very true.
So with this, is Ann Coulter is going to make sure nobody steals the plants, or really crows aren't going to be a problem, anything like that. So really, I would get her and I want to move back here, McCain's chicken, move from Canada to U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Huge poultry farm.
Huge poultry farm.
Take over the food supply.
I'm not gonna lie. Most of that I did not catch at all, and I found nonsensical. But you did technically vote, so I salute you, sir. And the winner is Andrey because he's
the guest, and the guest wins, I guess.
No, the guest actually did only one. Doesn't usually win. Last time it was, I think Stephen won last time, didn't you?
Corday won.
Corday won? No.
Yeah,
it was Jasmine. She didn't.
Yeah.
win.
It's always the guest.
I mean, there's been so many podcasts, hard to remember.
I mean,
It's hard to remember.
There's been Russian meddling since the beginning.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, that's what I said. Jasmine didn't.
She didn't win. Right, that's fine. Yeah. Jasmine did not win.
She's part of the Lost Tapes.
She's part of the she's part of the Lost Tapes. That's true.
Yes.
So yeah, because you're the only one who tacked on for the main cause of zombie rights, you become basically the Martin Luther King Jr. of the zombie cause, and thanks to you, zombies are given the right to vote.
It's going to be a very different kind of walk.
It's going to be a very different walk. It's a very different walk on Washington, March on Washington, but yeah, you will become a hero in the zombie community.
All right.
And that is the end of comedy, and that is the end of our game, and our show is coming to a close. Andrey, is there anything you would like to promote?
Yeah. We actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but because of the success of the SiriusXM taping, I haven't announced it yet, but we're going to launch Comedy Hideaway Records and tape people for radio. So.
Oh, nice.
That's kind of
awesome.
cool. And
very cool.
I don't know if that's something I'm announcing because it doesn't have a specific date, but it's very soon. Maybe even next 4 months.
Next 4 months? All right, great. Well, we'll stay tuned for that. That is that's really cool. Stephen, Uriah, do you have any last words of wisdom for our audience?
Yes, there's been something I've been wanting to say this entire time. I just want to paint a picture of what this room looks like right now.
Oh, God.
We got a painting on the floor.
No.
So
Steven,
it is a master level audio studio with such care taken into absorption of sound and reverberation. I mean, there's very thick layers of sound absorption right behind me. Mm-hmm. We have fans, right? A fan.
Yep.
Well, I mean, they didn't have confidence with the fan because they kept the box. They're like, I need to get this fan. I'm pretty sure it's not going to work, so I'm going to keep the box. Reseat's probably in the box.
Having the box there makes it seem like it's new.
That's true.
But the dust on it.
And thank you for making all those visual jokes about an audio podcast. Steven, what last words do you have?
We're painting a picture.
I'm looking forward to when the fan turns back on, because we couldn't have it going during the recording. But it shall turn back on.
It'll be back on in a minute.
And we will be cool.
I'm sweating like I have the H1N1 right now, I'll tell you that. Swine flu.
And Uriah is sweating like he has the swine flu.
He's Canadian, so for him this is like this is a sauna in here compared to.
I'm on Mars right now. That doesn't make sense.
Would you say that you're sweating like a Republican applying for food stamps?
No, don't use my material on the show.
What? Do you want to promote yourself as a stand-up comic? Let people know what kind of jokes you make?
Gotta go to my shows to hear my jokes.
Okay, come to Uriah's shows, and you'll hear his jokes. And with that, our episode comes to a close. Thank you very much for listening to us. And remember, keep reaching for the stars!